Hi everyone, welcome to Jom Study Learn channel. How are you? Hope you are doing very well. In this session, we will go through one by one exam questions, associate with the answer. Let's begin with 2021 exam multiple questions. The exam paper consists of 40 multiple choice questions. First, what is the characteristic of all living organisms? If you can recall, in chapter 1, we studied about 7 characteristics of living organisms, such as growth. All organisms begin small and then get larger by the growth of their cells. 2 is due to movement. The characteristic number 2 is movement. All organisms are able to move to some extent. Most animals can move their whole body from place to place. And 3, sensitivity. All organisms pick up information about changes and react to the changes. Excretion. All organisms produce unwanted toxic waste products due to metabolic reactions, reproductions, nutrition, and respiration. So the answer for number 1 is sensitivity. The bonobo and the chimpanzee are two closely related species. What is the most accurate method of deciding how closely related species are? So based on the analysis, complete genome reported stated that and reveals that bonobos and chimpanzees share 99.6% of their DNA. So the most accurate method and closely related species, the answer is compare the base sequences of their DNA. Number 3, scientists discover a new species of animal and it has a segmented body with 2 pairs of legs on each segment. To which group of animal does this new species belong? So still is in the chapter 1. This is referring to myriapods. And the animals is centipede, where each of the segment with 2 pair of legs. The answer is D. Which part of a cell makes glucose? Chloroplast is a process photosynthesis happen at chloroplast, whereby during this process, cell use carbon dioxide and energy from the sun to make molecules, sugar molecules and oxygen. So the answer is chloroplast. The diagram shows some of the blood vessels and other structures in the human body. So the body vessels, the blood vessels show are all parts of the same. So if let's say if tissue is a group of cells with similar structure working together to perform shared function. And if there is organ is actually a structure made of a group of tissue that working together to perform specific function. If organ system is a group of organ with related functions working together to perform body function. Where, as you know, there are several organ systems, and such as circulatory system, digestive system, respiratory system, excretory system, nervous system, endocrine system, reproductive system. So the answer for this question is the nearest is organ system, which is C. Number 6. A photograph shows a plant cell nucleus measuring 2 millimeter across. If the magnification of cell is 500, what is the actual size of the nucleus? Remember the formula to calculate. Cell is size of image in micrometer divided by magnification. You know that 2 millimeter is equivalent to 2000 micrometer. 2000 micrometer divided by 500 magnifications, so equals to 4 micrometer. To convert micrometer to millimeter, it's become 0.004 millimeter. So the answer is B. By which process do oxygen and carbon dioxide move between cells and capillaries? If you look at the process of diffusion, during diffusion, product of digestion dissolved in water can pass across of the small intestine by diffusion. The concentration is higher in a small intestine than the concentration in the blood, so there is a concentration gradient from intestine to the blood. Oxygen and carbon dioxide dissolved in water are exchanged by diffusion in the lung. So oxygen moves down the concentration gradient from the air in alveoli to the blood, and carbon dioxide moves down circulation gradient, concentration gradient from blood to the air in the alveoli. So the answer for number 7 is diffusion. Number 8, which process is involved in the uptake of glucose by the epithelial cell of kidney tubes? So the answer is active transport. Why active transport? Most other cells can carry out active transport if humans met small intestine. Glucose can be actively transported from lumen of intestine into the cell of the villi. In kidney, tuberous glucose actively transported out of the tubule and into the blood. So if you can recall back the step 1 where the glucose molecule enter transport protein and the transport protein changes shape and the energy needed for it to do this is provided by during the respiration in the cell. And finally, the changes of the shape of the transport protein pushes the glucose molecule into the cells. So the most accurate answer for number 8 is active transport. And number 9, which element is found in protein? Okay, found in protein, but not in carbohydrate. Okay, what are the elements in the carbohydrate? Basically, you know that the element consists in carbohydrates are carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. What are the line behind? Nitrogen. So nitrogen is element found in protein. So the answer is C. The sequence of the bases present on one strand of DNA molecule is shown ATT, GGA, CGGT. Which sequence shows the base present on the opposite strand? So the answer is C. TAA, CCT, GCCA. Starch is digested by amylase in the mouth, but it is not digested in the stomach. What is the reason for this? Okay. The pH in the stomach is not suitable for amylase to work. Stomach wall contain other cells to produce protease. Enzyme and other make hydrochloric acid help to keep bacteria in the food. So main protease enzyme such as like pepsin to digest protein and breaking down into polypeptide. Okay, and even in the stomach, young mammals, renin, okay, is renin, is not amylase. So the answer for this is B. The pH in the stomach is not suitable for amylase to work. Number 12, which statement about an enzyme control reaction is correct? During the reaction, the substrate changes into product. Like factors that affecting enzyme control reactions rate is temperature, pH, concentrations of the substrate, concentration of enzyme, where increasing the concentration of enzyme will increase the rate of reactions to a certain point. So the answer for question 12 is A. During the reaction, the substrate changes into product. A plant with strip leaf was kept in bright light for 6 hours. So, what will happen when a leaf was taken from the plant and the chlorophyll was removed? The leaf was then tested for starch using iodine solution. Which diagram shows the result of the test? So if you see the adaptation of leaf for photosynthesis, where chloroplast containing chlorophyll present in mesophyll layer is to absorb energy from sunlight so that carbon dioxide will combine with water. And chlorophyll itself is actually the pigment which makes plants look green. So if the chlorophyll was removed, definitely the leaf cannot sustain to remain green. It will turn it to be brown. Okay, so in this case, the green stripe, okay, the white stripe will become yellow-brown. And of course, the leaf will turn it to die. So the green stripe will become blue-black. So the answer for this is 13A. The graph shows daily carbon dioxide uptake and transpiration by the plant agave americana. So the plant is adapted to live in a very dry condition. You can see from this just a little bit about agave or cactus. What makes photosynthesis in agave or cactus is so different than other plants. Agave and cactus plants absorb most carbon dioxide at night, meaning that less water evaporate off the leaf through transpiration. So if you can see from this graph, what can we see? That most stomata are closed during light period, because the function of stomata is to allow carbon dioxide to diffuse in and oxygen to diffuse out. Right? Statement 1 to 4 describe stages in the development of cholera. What is cholera in the first place? Cholera is a bacteria. So, when bacteria goes inside our body, the first is toxins are produced by the pathogenic bacteria. And after that, chloride ions are secreted into the guts, and osmosis will causes water to move into the guts, and the infected person will become dehydrated. So the answer for number 15 is C. Okay. The diagram shows part of the human body. X is actually represents small intestine, and Y is actually represent colon. Okay, what is the function of intestine? Small intestine, they absorb nutrients like vitamin, mineral, carbohydrate, fats, protein, water from food. Okay, so that it can be used by our body. Whereas colon dehydrate what is left of the food and form into stool. So the answer for this is A. X, small intestine, absorb more water from food than colon. Which sequence describes the pathway taken by water as it moves through a plant? Passage of water through root stem begin with water in the soil, enter into root hair through a process of osmosis. Then it goes to root cortex, and then water containing dissolved mineral moves up to the root and stand in xylem cell, and then to mesophyll. So the answer for this is D. The diagram shows a plant at different times of year. Stage 1, at the start of the growing season, the plant uses the food reserve stored in the bulb for the growth of shoot and leaf. Later in the season, the leaf of the plant photosynthesis and the food reserve in the bulb are replaced. Stage 1, new growth of shoot and leaf. Bulb containing food reserve. So as a stage 1 is a source. And stage 2 is a sink, where the process photosynthesizing come up with producing leaf and the food reserve in the bulb being replaced. How does blood enter the heart? The blood flow into the heart at the top into the atria. Okay, and both atria receive blood. The left atrium receives blood from pulmonary veins, which come from lungs. So the answer for number 19 is C, through veins into the atrium. What is the sequence of organ that blood passes through during one circulation of a body of a fish? So, oxygen diffuses into the blood from gill, then to the heart, then to muscles. The answer is C. Muscle, heart, gill, heart, muscle, gill, heart, muscle. So the answer is B. A child is vaccinated against measles. After a period of time, the child is infected with the measles virus. The graph shows the concentration of measles antibodies in the child bloodstream during this time. Antibody concentration in the blood, you can see, is decreasing, and then it's increasing, the antibody, after a certain period of time. So it shows that After the vaccination, the child produces memory cells. That's why there is increasing in the graph. The answer for this is 21A. Which sequence of changes take place when we breathe in? When we breathe in, diaphragm muscle contract. This pull diaphragm downward and increase the volume of thorax. And at the same time, as volume thorax increase, there is a pressure inside it falls below atmosphere pressure. And then it's become pressure in the lung decrease so that the air drawn into the lungs. So the answer for this is 22A. Which is the link between muscle contraction protein synthesis and the maintenance of a constant body temperature? Okay, the answer for this is to perform the link between muscle contraction, protein synthesis, and the maintenance of the constant body temperature is related to the required energy. Uses of energy in the body involve muscle contraction, protein synthesis, maintenance of constant body temperature, active transport, growth, cell division, the passage of nerve impulse. So the answer is 23C. After vigorous exercise, an athlete continues to breathe deeply during the recovery period. So during this recovery period, the oxygen gap is removed. Which reaction is used to remove the oxygen gap? Aerobic respiration of lactic acid in the liver. The answer is A. And the diagram shows some of the organs in the human body. You can see these are the three items, which is lung, number 1. Number 2 is actually the liver, and number 3 is the kidney. Urea is produced in the liver, which is number 2. Okay. And kidney, where the blood is filtered, and urea is excreted from the body. So the answer for this is B. Excrete urea is a kidney, number 3. Produces urea is liver, and excrete carbon dioxide is lung, number 1. So the answer for number 25 is B. 26. What is the result of the release of adrenaline? Adrenaline is a hormone produced in adrenal gland. It releases when body under acute stress or during exercise. Increase the blood flow to the skeletal muscle, and the level of glucose in the blood also increases. So the answer for number 26 is D. A person's skin looks more red in a warm environment than it does in a cool environment. Which explanation is correct? What happens when the body is too warm or too hot? The arteriole supplying the sweat gland dilates, bringing more blood so that the gland can make more sweat. Arterioles supplying the capillaries dilate, bring more blood to capillaries. More blood is brought to the surface capillary where it can lose heat. So the answer is the arterioles supplying capillaries in the skin vessel dilate and more blood flow to the skin surface. That's why your skin look more red in a warm environment, so that sweat evaporate from the skin surface, cooling it, and the erector muscle relax, so the hair lie flat on the skin and trap less air? The answer is 27B. The diagram shows a plant next to a window. Which statement explains the plant should grow? So there is a higher concentration of oxygen in the cell on the shaded side of the shoot, and this stimulates cell innovation. The answer is B. And the graph shows how smoking different number of cigarettes for different length of time affect the risk of lung cancer. Which conclusions are supported by the data in the graph? The dark gray represents smoking less than 20 cigarettes per day, and the light gray represents smoking more than 20 cigarettes per day. Okay. If you can see, for the statement number 1, smoking more than 20 cigarettes per day increases the risk of lung cancer more than smoking less than 20 cigarettes per day, which is not suitable. You can see smoking less than 20 cigarettes per day, the answer is a little bit less risk as compared to smoking more than 20 cigarettes per day. So this number 1 statement is not applicable. Smoking cigarette for more years increases the risk of lung cancer. Yes, it's true. If you see smoking more than 20 cigarettes per day and for more years, it increases the risk of lung cancer. Number 2 can be accepted. And number 3, smoking more than 20 cigarettes per day for more than 50 years has the highest risk of lung cancer. Yes, can be accepted. From the graph, it shows that for more than 50 years of smoking, and it actually increases the risk of lung cancer. So, number 2 and 3 can be accepted. So, D is the answer. 30. The life cycle of aphids include both sexual and asexual reproduction. And from this diagram, it shows that X shows a sexual reproduction which produces genetically identical offspring. The answer is C. 31. Modern agriculture methods often use artificial insemination AI to breed dairy cattle. Which statement describe the process of artificial insemination? So, among the 4, the first one A is the most suitable. Sperm is collected from bull and frozen. The sperm is later inserted into the vagina of a cow. This is the methods often used for artificial insemination AI. 32. The Tasmanian devil is an animal with 7 pairs of chromosomes in each body cells. The diagram shows the chromosome in a cell from a Tasmanian devil. Which statement is correct? If you can see from this, the cell is actually a single and haploid and no pairs. So we can say that the cell is a haploid with no pair of chromosome. Some statements about mitosis are listed. Cells divide and produce new cells to repair damaged tissue. Yes, correct, mitosis. Chromosomes are duplicated, and the cell separates to form gametes. Number 2 is not applicable. Chromosomes are duplicated, and the cells separate to form genetically identical cells. Yes, can be accepted. Number 3. And mitosis is used in asexual reproduction. Yes. So the answer is 1, 3, and 4. So which statements are correct is D. Coat color in cattle is controlled by two condominant allele. The genotype allele results in cattle with a red color code. The genotype allele result in cattle with a white color code. The genotype allele result in a roan coat. These cattle have a mixture of red hair and white hair in their coat. A mating occurs between a red cow and a roan bull. What is the expected ratio of a coat color in the offspring? As usual, you have to tabulate the table. And then from this table, you might get the result. 50% is red and 50% is roan. So the answer is C. Which features would have a plant to survive in a dry environment? This is applicable for those plants like cactus. So the answer is tip wavy cuticle. What occurs as a result of artificial selection? So the most close to this artificial selection is a disease-resistant groups. 36 is B. And which type of energy is passed from organism to organism in food change? So this is a direct question and a direct answer, which is chemical, B. And the diagram shows a food web. How many organisms fit at more than one trophic level? This is also a very straight question and answer. You can see from this web is only one. So the answer is B. Bacteria can use to make human protein. Which statement explains why this is possible when a human gene is placed in a bacterial cells? The answer is bacteria have the same genetic code as humans. The answer is D. The process of eutrophication begins with the increased availability of nitrate ions and other ions in the water. The process involved in eutrophications are listed. Rapid growth of producer, increased death of producers due to lack of lights, and increased aerobic respiration by decomposers, and finally, oxygen concentration in the water decreased and more organisms die. So the sequence for this answer is A. Last but not least, I hope every one of you doing well in your upcoming exam. You can follow me at Instagram and please subscribe to this channel. Thank you.